We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then I'm going to be number 9. Alright, hit it, Emily.
6 years ago, in November, was the time I killed my very first deer. It was this experience that was not only hilarious to others, but it's something I will never be able to live down. At 4:30, my dad woke me up. I put on so many clothes that I felt like a marshmallow. I remember my dad had to help me put on my own shoes. After that, we went down to deer camp and we had breakfast. After breakfast, my dad took me out into the woods and we got in our buddy stand. We sat there and eventually I fell asleep, but my dad stayed awake. And finally my dad woke me up saying there was a deer in front of me. I woke up and sure enough, there was a doe standing right in front of me. My gun was facing down on the ground and I knew that if I picked it up, the deer would see me and run off. So my dad pointed at his gun. And his gun was a .30-06, and me being just a little scrawny girl of 107 pounds, knew I wouldn't be able to shoot it by myself. So my dad put his left shoulder behind my right shoulder, and I aimed, and I shot. Through my dad's scope, I clearly seen it hit her right in the chest. I seen the blood and everything. And we sat there and waited for her to find her laying spot, and finally we got down from my stand, and we walked straight in front of where I had shot her, and we found a blood pile. We followed that trail for a good 10 yards, and then it stopped. We searched, and we searched for more blood, but could not find any. We even looked for her just laying down on the ground somewhere, and we could not find it. We searched for hours, and finally my dad gave up and said we'd come back the next morning. I was really disappointed because that was my first deer I ever shot by myself, and going home knowing that I wasn't going to get my first deer, it was really disappointing. So the next morning, we went down to deer camp and ate breakfast again, and I had to deal with all my dad's friends and my family making fun of me because I didn't get my first deer. Well, my dad took me back to that spot, and we searched again, and we searched for hours and still could not find her. Finally, I gave up. I said, "Dad, take me to a new spot. I'm tired of this." And so this time, he sat me in a stand on the edge of a field all by myself, and he went and sat in another field close by me. I waited for anything, any little deer or anything to come out in front of me. I was ready to shoot it. I sat there for a while and nothing came out. I was so disappointed, and it was turning dark, and my dad had given me a walkie-talkie so we could communicate to each other. And I heard it turn on, and my dad told me, "Emily, it's time to go. We got to go back to the truck and go home." I got down from my stand, I started walking. Finally, I seen my dad, and I started walking towards him, and we met. And we went off into the next field, and as soon as we got to that field, there stood 2 deer right in front of me. And I hurried up, and I brought my gun up, and it was already dark, so I thought that maybe if I couldn't really see through my scope, so I thought that if I put my face closer to the scope, that it would help me see. Well, I shot, and the scope hit me straight in the nose. I put my gun down on my side, and I held my nose, and blood was gushing everywhere, and I turned to my dad, hoping that maybe he seen me and he was trying to help me, but no, my dad was aimed at the other deer, because it was still standing there. And I said, "Dad, Dad," and he's like, "Hold on, Emily, hold on." I said, "Dad, please, Dad, my nose." And as soon as I said my nose, he shot. Finally, he put his gun down, looked over at me, and he said, "Well, what happened to you?" And all I did was point to my scope, and he started laughing. And I started laughing too, because it was kind of funny. And he started searching through his pockets and found a napkin and separated it and put it on my nose. And then he said, "Well, Emily," he said, "at least you got your first deer." And I said, "What?" And I looked over, and sure enough, there were my deer. One stood and now laid. And next to it was the one my dad shot. We got into my dad's truck and we drove over there, and my deer turned out to be a button buck and his was a doe. And we drove to deer camp, and I got out of the truck, and all my dad's friends were out there, and they asked me, they said, "Emily, what's wrong with you?" And I didn't say anything because I was too embarrassed. And my dad had to tell the story, and they all were laughing at me and cracking jokes, and to this day I still hear about it. But I just shake it off my shoulders because I know that I still got my first year, even though I had to hurt myself.